Good evening and welcome to Crossroads. Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, well, he allegedly is accepting a plea deal on charges for tax evasion and a gun violation. A Department of Justice letter offering Hunter Biden the deal, well, it was released today. It notes that Hunter Biden has agreed to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor counts of willful failure to pay income tax. And it notes as well that he agreed to enter a pretrial diversion agreement for the felony crime of using a controlled substance while possessing a firearm. Now, the pretrial agreement means the charge can be dropped if he goes through alternative treatment programs. Tax evasion can be a serious charge under normal circumstances. Remember back in 2008, actually, actor Wesley Snipes, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison for tax evasion. But Hunter Biden is probably going to avoid that. He's expected to go on probation but avoid jail time. And although the judge as well is going to have the final say on the sentencing, so we'll see what happens. But this really means something else. Hunter's charges are going exactly as critics expected they would. In fact, here's Kash Patel predicting this exact outcome last month.
And the prediction I have made is that I believe Hunter Biden will be charged, and soon. But I think they'll roll it up into what we call this global plea agreement, where he basically gets charged with some Mickey Mouse lower level offenses, walks into a super light sentence, and then they will cover up the cover up. Merrick Garland and company will go to the podium and say, we prosecuted Joe Biden's son, even though he's the president of the United States, and they'll gloss over the fact that any other individual who committed those crimes would have been treated differently. That's what I think is happening right now. That's why I think that meeting occurred. Because I think the lawyers, some of whom I know, are smart enough to realize that there's no way he can't get charged with anything.
Now, President Biden argued that his son was innocent. In fact, he declared last month on MSNBC's 11th Hour that my son has done nothing wrong.
Sir, there is something personal that's affecting you. Your son, while there's no ties to you, could be charged by your Department of Justice. How will that impact your presidency?
First of all, my son's done nothing wrong. I trust him, I have faith in him, and it impacts my presidency by making me feel proud of him.
Now, as for President Donald Trump, well, it's another story. He's comparing it to the charges he's facing under the same Department of Justice, and he wrote this on Truth Social. Wow, the corrupt Biden DOJ just cleared up hundreds of years of criminal liability by giving Hunter Biden a mere traffic ticket. Our system is broken. Now, Trump's sentiment is being echoed among Republicans. In fact, House Speaker McCarthy said the Hunter charges represent another example of what he calls a two-tiered system of justice. He said if you're the president's son, you get a sweetheart deal. But if you're the president's opponent, well, the system will find anything it can to put you behind bars.
My first reaction is it continues to show the two-tier system in America. If you are the president's leading political opponent, the DOJ tries to literally put you in jail and give you prison time. If you are the president's son, you get a sweetheart deal. Now, this does nothing to our investigation. It actually should enhance our investigations because the DOJ should not be able to withhold any information now, saying that because of pending investigation, they should be able to provide Chairman Comer with any information that he requires.
Now, for Hunter, the plea deal does not mean he's out of the woods. In fact, he's still being investigated by House Republicans over allegations of things including influence peddling, allegations of bribery, and many other things as well. According to Kevin McCarthy, however, the Department of Justice has been withholding evidence from the investigative committees. As McCarthy notes, it'll now be harder for the DOJ to withhold that evidence when they're trying to use the excuse of an ongoing investigation into Hunter, which they were using before. They can't just hand over the evidence that might damage the DOJ's investigation. That was the narrative. But it appears Republicans actually spoke too soon on that. Despite the plea deal with Hunter, the DOJ is keeping the investigations open. This means they can still technically use the excuse of an ongoing investigation to continue blocking the House investigation. Now, Catherine Herridge at CBS pointed this out, in fact. She posted the DOJ announcement on Twitter, which states this: David C. Wise, U.S. Attorney for the District of Delaware, made the announcement The investigation is ongoing. Now, despite that, the House Republicans say this will not stop their investigations. Representative James Comer of Kentucky, who's chairman of the House Oversight Committee, said this on Twitter. He wrote, "Hunter Biden is getting away with a slap on the wrist when growing evidence uncovered by the House Oversight Committee reveals the Bidens engaged in a pattern of corruption, influence peddling, and possibly bribery." Representative Comer also released a full statement on the case, which represents a more official notice on the House investigation. He wrote, "These charges against Hunter Biden and the sweetheart plea deal have no impact on the Oversight Committee's investigation. We will not rest until the full extent of President Biden's involvement in the family's schemes are revealed." Now, when it comes to the investigations and the charges being brought against Donald Trump, there's been a common factor. Every time it appears that legal precedence is being thrown right out the window. With Hunter Biden, however, this seems to be the case as well. Only with Hunter Biden, the disregard for legal precedents appears to be acting for him rather than against him. Former U.S. Attorney Brett Tolman, actually the director of Right on Crime, he alleged in a Twitter thread saying this, "The DOJ is violating its own internal policies on this case. The Ashcroft memo requires they charge the highest provable offense and seek consistent sentences with other cases brought by DOJ." Now, Tolman alleges that the DOJ appears to be ignoring decades of policy and precedent to seek felonies, not misdemeanors, and seek sentences within the guideline range. The diversion agreement on the felony offense, in fact, to everyone not politically connected, he said, who sought diversion and were literally laughed at by the DOJ. On the gun charge, for example, the one dropped for Hunter, Tolman notes that under the DOJ's Project Safe Neighborhoods program, they bragged about putting other people in prison for 5 years on average. He notes, if they followed policy, Hunter would be looking at a minimum of 5 years in federal prison, but he's a Biden. Now, as for Trump, he was recently hit with a gag order on releasing documents or information on his current charges for the classified documents allegations. And the judge in the case also recently fast-tracked the trial. It's now just 8 weeks away on August 14th. Although legal observers will have noted as well, the trial most likely will be pushed back even further. But the case and the potential court date could interfere with Trump's ability to campaign for 2024. The first 2024 Republican presidential debate, that's going to be held on August 23rd in Milwaukee. And questions are being raised as to whether he'll be able, well, under a gag order for that time, debate or even maybe a travel ban as well. Now, regardless of how things unfold from here, both the Hunter case and the charges against Trump are likely going to impact the 2024 elections. For Trump, at least so far, the polls suggest the charges are actually ironically helping his campaign. For Biden, however, whether the DOJ's handling of the case against Hunter, whether it's going to affect his campaign or not, well, that's yet to be seen.